Hey, what's up guys, it's T-Bone here and welcome back to another episode of playing Legendary Game of Heroes. So this week's event is called Hound of Fortune. And before I go into the deck preview and talking about my assessment of the deck itself, I wanted to show you something here that I think would be interesting. So this is something I just kind of worked on as a pet project. I wanted to talk about decks and their relative strengths. I wanted to have a way to compare decks between one another. You know, we talk about decks. I've been doing this for over a year now, and every time I look at a deck, and the only thing I can really talk about is, oh, I think this is going to be good because of certain reasons. And so I finally sort of just, took some time and thought about what makes a deck really powerful. And it all just really comes down to power gems. It comes down to the number of power gems that a deck can use, and it comes down to the number of total gems that you can actually use in conjunction with the power gems to make the biggest connection. So, the best damage that you can output is a board full of power 4 gem 4s. All right. And comes pretty close to that is just a board full of power gems. And you see that with the Alexa, Halloween, Maiden, and Master Wu decks. These are the 4 well-known decks that don't have any limits. And you can see here, if you click on the circle here, there is really no limit to the number of gems that you can create, or power gems, and you can create up to the total number of gems on the board. And so that's why they belong in the category by themselves, in the S tier. And then there's the next tier down, and you can see there's a few more of them. So we see it with the previous Fire Commander deck, the Valadam deck. We see it in the current deck. I'll talk about that, Loga. And you sort of see it with the Paladin and Thrall as well. This is where the total number of power gems are limited by the number of cards or the number of gems that are on the board. So for example, with Valadam, it's the total number of power gems is limited by the number of fire gems that are on the board itself. And since you can only have a certain number of players that can generate Valadam or Crimson Vengeance, it doesn't fill up quite as many. But depending on your layout, you could go up to that many. And because it does have its own gem rainer and also increased gem drop rate, that's why they fall in a category by itself as well here, where you may not be able to deal quite as much damage as the ones in S tier, but you're going to be up there. These are the decks that can provide a really good damage overall, and you can see the list here. These are all decks that other people really enjoy, including Thrall, which we just went through for the Dark Commander. Then you have sort of the next level down, which is sort of the powerhouses before Intensity got introduced, and that is the Quack deck, for example, where it's focused on a gem destroyer and a gem. Well, the deck by itself doesn't include a gem rainer, but it does for the first 3 turns using the Tundra. The Tundra Queen. So you can see here the maximum number of power gems can be created by the deck is actually 4 if you bring in 4 Cream Priestesses and then use Quack to destroy the entire board. But really, you ultimately just want to have a Tundra Queen in there. So you're really looking at 3 power gems, and then you have the Tundra Queen to be the gem rainer, and then you have Quack as the gem destroyer. So these are type of the 2-turn type decks. It's quick, it's fast, you can get decent damage out of it, but you're not going to get the kind of damage output as something like the Paladin. Okay, so that's why it's sort of in the B category. And you have the C and the D's where, by itself, it does create some power gems. So you can see Idalia and Spirit of Giving. They do have cards that generate power gems. But the thing is, they don't generate other things by themselves. Like as a deck, they don't destroy gems. They don't add more gems to the board. And so you're going to be hard-pressed to really deal the kind of damage that you're looking for quickly without doing additional work. And then there's, in category D, sort of like everything in between. Song of the Wild is an example here where the deck by itself doesn't actually help you. You can get a gem destroyer, but there's nothing in the deck that generates power gem. So sort of in tier C and D, you really need to mix and match with other cards in order to make it more useful. And so this is really looking at a deck by itself. Sort of including the ultra rare and the ultra rare. I'm not looking at relics because you can really mix and match relics for most of this at this point, and it provides too much of a wild card, especially since some relics give you additional power gems and some don't. So I decided to sort of leave that out of this equation and just kind of take a look here. I've also decided not to take into account the individual card damages because I think they're all very similar at some point. Yes, some decks will deal more damage overall, but the fact is the type of deck it forms will give you the type of damage that you should expect. Okay, and as you can see in S tier are the kind of decks like Halloween. It's an even better one because it's the only commander deck that can work well in both commander and slayer decks. All right, all the other decks in this S tier are slayer, so I'm looking forward to seeing if they introduce another one in the commander deck type. So anyways, having said that, we can take a look at Loga, and what I've determined here is, the gem spawners here are Lunar Jade Twins and Golden Warrior, and the maximum number of power gems is 28. How did I come to that number? Let's take a look now. So in order to do that, we need to evaluate a little bit on the cards themselves. And so what I want to do is go to the pack here, go to collections, and let's take a look now at the cards themselves. And I will just make a comment that the other 3 cards that you can get to fulfill this collection aren't as good. Taurus and Chimeras, they're old cards and they don't have very good skills to go with it. The only one that's decent is Solace, which actually heals you and gives you a increased turn for before the enemy attacks. Aside from that, I'm a little disappointed that they chose to use it, but I can understand why, because they do want a Zodiac commander, Zodiac hero, and Taurus is part of the Chinese Zodiac. So anyways, let's take a look now, okay, at the cards themselves. So Beeman, I really like this card, and I'll tell you why. So this is a free card that you can get just by playing, and you can also get them at tier 2 in a pack if you want it. So the card here increases the intensity by 10, and every stack of Ancient Intensity moderately increases the drop rate of light gems for 1 turn. And this skill stacks with other similar skills. So this is a Gem Rainer card, okay? And it's been a while since we've seen these type of cards available for free. And, the last time this was this is very similar to the Fire Vladam deck as well, but the Gem Rainer part came with the ultra rare. It didn't exist for the free card, and this is a free card you can get, and you can have a Gem Rainer just for free. So that's really good because you can use it for other cards in the future. Then you have I want to use this to show you. This is the feature card, Loga, and Loga it will destroy 10 non-light gems. So this is your gem destroyer, and it does require Ancient Intensity before it destroys everything. But if you think about it, between your free card and your event card, you have a you have a Gem Rainer and the Gem Destroyer, which is really good because these 2 cards can work really well with any other deck. Okay, any other deck that generates other power gems, you can use them in conjunction. And so what I like about this is, these are cards that can now sort of be more versatile. And then if you take a look at the Golden Warrior, which is the ultra rare card, it actually doesn't depend on any intensity at all. This just depends on the number of gems. So you can see that it creates 1 light power gem 1 plus 1 additional light power gem 1 for every 10 light gems on the board, round it down. And what I've done is, take a look at the ultra rare, which is the Lunar Jade Twins. And it says here that it will create 1 light power gem 4 plus an additional light power gem 1 for every 5 light gems on the board. And so I guess the math is a little off here. What it means is you can create 1 plus 7 more, right? So for every 5 light gems, 35 total, you can create additional 7. So with 1 Lunar Jade, if you have an entire board full of gems, you'll be able to create 8 gems here. And, theoretically, you could have, really what I think you want is, realistically have 4, but you could have up to 5 of these cards, and if you do, then you could fill an entire board. But the problem is you don't have any way to actually fill the board with light gems. You do need to have both of your Destroy and Rainer. So I think you're talking maybe instead of 28, I can probably drop the number. So you're looking at 3 cards. Right, 3 ultra rare and the ultra rare combination is really what you're looking at to really take advantage of that. So with a maximum of 8 cards, you're still going to be able to get 24. Okay, so 24 power gems, a mixture of 1s and 4s, plus multiple light gems. And so in that situation, I think that you can actually deal pretty good damage there. So that's sort of like where I am right now. This to me feels like a tier A type deck, and I think that you can see a lot of goodness out of it. Plus, this is a commander deck, so it can be useful in your Slayer deck as well. Generally, commanders are easier to translate into Slayer than it is the other way around, so that's something to keep in mind as well. And so now take a look at the cards that I do plan to use. Because it's against a dark boss, I kind of wanted to give this a try. So this is Archangel Uriel, which actually is one of the few cards that powers an entire color attacker type. And so I'm using her and bringing Archangel Mithril, which is the other light card that actually increases the drop rate of light gems. And then I'm using Indale as well. Having 2 Indales was sort of the meta that you had before, because there's 0 turn wait, and all you need is 16 gems, and they create 10 gems each. So between the 2 of them, you'll never run out of battle skill between these 2. And Alexa is just here to dispel fear for me. Besides this deck, some of the decks are actually viable as well. So there is a water deck that I used to use all the time, and that is, we talked about it before, that is the Quack deck. And so what I'll do is I just change this to show you. So basically the Priestess Queen and Quack combination is actually a really good one. It's a good staple deck to use. I depended on it for quite a while, and since this is not against Earth, I think it should be fine. And you can also use, I believe, the Thrall deck from the last Commander event. Even though this is against Dark, I mean, most people now have a well-established, fully developed, fully maxed out deck that uses all 5 relics. So I think that in the beginning, this is another deck that will be really strong to go against, even though it's against its own affinity. I think that the damage itself will still be good, because you're still going to get the 4 times commander gems for all of them. So I would give this a try as well. Don't discount that. And then for me, so I'm going to be switching back and forth between this deck and my light deck. And don't forget the Valadam deck is going to be good as well. So these are commander decks that I think are going to be good. So now let's take a look at this cards in action. Actually, I want to, as I'm talking about decks, I think it'd be good to just give it a try. So let's actually go into an elite. Let's see here. Is there a dark one here? Yeah, let's go to an elite campaign. Let's just now, because this is a wave-based attack, actually campaigns are a good simulation to a commander event. And so if I were to borrow a card based on what I have here, I would want to try and get something that is a rain, sort of a power gem creator, at least if I can get one. And so I'll go ahead and use my light commander here, and let's take it for a spin. Now in commander there's 3 waves, and this one has 5, so this will be a little bit more than actual commander event itself, but you'll see what it's like having a 6th card in here, and you can sort of see how with 2 Indales this deck is actually going to work. And so let's see here. Let's go ahead and just go ahead and create this. And so if you just make sure that you generate at least if you match at least 16 cards here, you'll be able to power up everything. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and create a power gem here. And if you notice here, notice that there is now the intensity over on the left side instead of on top of the cards. So I have a corrupt intensity, and it tells me that the total number is 10. So it makes it a lot easier. You don't actually have to strain your eyes trying to see the number that's hidden inside an icon. And now you can actually see the total intensity that is available. And if you have different intensities running, you'll actually see them in various different groupings as well. So this is a very helpful change for now. And I'm also going to so you can also destroy 7 gems on the board, and you can also increase the drop rate. And then you can see what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to use 2 Indale, and I'm just going to continuously just use their skills. And because of Mithril's battle skill, I'm getting additional light gem drops as well. And now it's basically just rinse and repeat with my Indale. This is why these two cards are really good together. You can see just how, how many gems that you can actually create. And I also have my Alexa, she just activated her passive skill, but I don't have the Architect in this case to actually take advantage of that, but it's okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this again, just fill up the entire board and just kind of keep going. All right. And now I'm not sure how far this technique would go in the, Inferno or in the Elite or the Infernal boards for the commander, but you can at least get through the very first set very easily, and maybe even halfway through through Elite just by doing this, right? And so let's go ahead and attack, kill one of them, and then this attack should also destroy the other one, right? So I think this is the type of deck where having Alexa also helps me destroy the final boss in wave 3 as well. So this is another thing I'm thinking about. So this will be good for just the basic sort of going through the maps. I'm not sure if it's going to be the type of deck that will be super powerful against guild boss. Really, against guild bosses, you need to have the power gems created. I think that having this setup here that I just showed is going to be good for going through the maps. And for guild bosses, I think you're going to have another set here, and that's going to be cards that you can use to create gems. And so I think that if they do provide the ultra rare in a VIP pack, which I believe they say they would, I actually think it's not a bad idea. Right, if you're looking to boost up your light deck, this card is good. This card will be good to pair up with any cards that spawn light gems, and there are a lot of cards now that would actually spawn light gems, and so this card can be very helpful, and it doesn't require intensity, so it can be used anywhere. At least that's my take on it. So we've talked about this deck. We've talked a little bit about we've sort of seen how it works and sort of show the grouping. I would love to know if this has been helpful, and want to know if there's anything else that you would like to see that can help you with the game itself. So give me feedback. I thank you for all of the comments so far in the previous videos, and I'll continue to update the content as I can. So thank you for the time, and I'll see you in the next episode. Take care.